Hey guys, welcome back to the Joy of Wrenching. I'm your friendly neighborhood mechanic, and today we're working on this 2000 year model Lincoln Town car. Same thing as the Crown Victoria and the Grand Marquis. This is the Panther platform vehicles, and it's got worn out upper ball joints. So I want to show you, this is what the ball joints look like on this car. And this is what they're supposed to look like. Ugh, can't even move it. So we're going to go ahead and show you how to replace these ball joints today. Super easy job. You can do this in your own garage. So come along and let's get into it. So the ball joint sits right here, the upper ball joint on these cars. I'm going to go ahead and just push this here back out of the way to get it out of our way. But it's this thing right here, and it stabs down and connects to our knuckle here, which is part of the front wheel assembly. Things just held on by these two big nuts right here, and it has these little, they call them alignment cams on there. And so you want to make sure that you put these alignment cams back generally in the same place as you found them. And so what you can do is you can mark them, as I've done here, to show you which one's the front and which one's the back, and also where they're lined up currently. I've also highlighted, there's little bitty stripes or metal sort of bars pressed into those nuts, and I've went ahead and just painted over those as well. But you can do either one. You can also just take a picture from above of where they're located after you mark them. I've seen some people put like a punch mark or a chisel mark on some of these. Whatever way you like, you go ahead and do it that way. I just went ahead and used the marker, put an F for front, a B for back. Since we're taking the suspension apart, we're going to unload the vehicle. And of course, there's a lot of spring tension wanting to push this control arm down. Once we disconnect this, you don't want that spring to come flying out and kill you. So you need to put something underneath the control arm of the vehicle and put a little bit of tension on it. You can see this moving up as I add tension to this system. And that will allow this to stay in place once we disconnect that, keep everything safe. And then also it helps just to put these things back together a little easier once we are done replacing this part. As I said, this is a pretty easy job, and you're only going to need a couple of simple tools, really. We're going to need a 21 millimeter socket and an 18 millimeter socket. These big nuts up here that hold the ball joint to this upper control arm, these are the 21 millimeter. And then there's a pinch bolt right here that this ball joint goes down inside of the knuckle, and that pinch bolt holds it in place. And that is an 18 millimeter. So let's go ahead. What we want to do to start with is we just want to go ahead and loosen these things up. So I'm going to take my 1/2 inch drive socket and break these free. There we go. You just got to loosen it up a little bit. Just like that. Not too hard. I'm going to go ahead and remove this pinch bolt. Again, that's an 18 millimeter. Come in here. Once you get this thing loose, you can use some mechanical tools or whatever. In this case, I'm going to use my electric ratchet, just to speed the process up a little bit. Sometimes these bolts get stuck in there a little bit, and you can tap that thing back out. I like to put the nut back on it before I tap them. Just kind of make it even, like so. If this bolt is stuck in there, won't come out, just move your little ABS wiring out of the way. Just give it a few taps, just like that. And out she comes. Bolt is removed, this control arm is free, and we've got it supported so that the spring isn't causing this to all fly apart or anything. I've went ahead and broke these two loose. And so now we're going to use the electric ratchet again to remove these nuts. Like that. These are nylon nuts, and so they'll stay on there. There you go. Now, in addition to these nuts, we have these cams right underneath it, and they just slide right up. And remember, we marked it F for front because this one needs to stay in the front. And so just remember which one goes where. Set those aside. And we can just lift up the one in the back here. It seems to be a little bit more stuck in place. So if you run into that, just get your little hammer. Loosen things up a little bit. Luckily, I don't have any real rust here. There we go. I popped it loose. So you can see this one's marked with a, well, that was a B. It's kind of a smudged B, but either way. Now this ball joint, we've got the nuts, retainer nuts off of there. You see this thing's just flopping around. So you can just take this thing out. And it may be a little hard, but this just got to come up and out of here. Now that these two nuts and cam adjustment things are out of the way, this thing's just flopping around. And if you're lucky, it'll just kind of lift right up and out of the knuckle. In this case, it's not wanting to do that. So you can use a pickle fork or any kind of device to sort of wedge and sort of force it up and out of the way. Unless you live in a really salty, corroded area, this thing ought to come out relatively easily. This one's a little more corroded, and so I'm going to have to work at it some. So you may find that you need to use something like a ball joint separator or pickle forks in this case, and you can just tap those in there, and that wedge right there is supposed to go between the two, between your knuckle and your ball joint, and separate the two. You can see I'm starting to see a little daylight there between the two. In this case, this gap here is a little wide, and so I'm going to have to double up and use two pickle forks. So we'll try this out. Let's see how this works for us. Let's get a couple of pickle forks in there. A little hammer never hurts. Bang on it some. Just tell it you're not going to give up. Say, I told you I needed a part, and I'm not going to change my mind. Well, this booger was sure tough. Had a lot of corrosion on it, so it was stuck in there pretty good. Took some monkeying to get that thing out of there. But we're ready to go back in with our new part. And so all you got to do is slip this new part over the studs where it goes, and then stab it into the top of the knuckle. And it should go down to where that little U-shaped part in the stud goes. It should go down all the way flush, basically. If it doesn't, we'll give it a little bit of love tap. There we go. All right, that's where it's supposed to be. That way the bolt can go back through here. And your kit may come with a new bolt, it may not. And that bolt comes from the back. See, it's got these squares, and that square has to go through the back, and this square has to be flush with the side there. Let me put this in there like this. I may have to tap it through, but you'll see how that flat right there has to be flat on the side. And then we can tighten that up, put it in place. There, just like that. That way it can't turn, it can't rotate. See how it stays in there? All right, and we tighten this up. This is an 18 millimeter. So this little pinch bolt gets torqued to 90 foot-pound, 90. I'm just gonna snug it up with the electric ratchet here. And then we'll go ahead, get our torque wrench out, set to 90 foot-pounds. You can do this later or you can do it now. Doesn't really matter. There we go. Now we need to put our cam bolts and nuts back in place up here. And remember, we marked it with a B for back. So we want to put that one back in place, generally how it was. And so I had the markings facing towards me here. So just set that up in place like so. You can push it down with your fingers or whatever. And then just get that nut started, like so. And as you tighten it up, this will all sort of flush out. Let me get the front one. It too is marked, in this case, F for front. Just goes down in there like that. And then we take our 22 millimeter nuts, set those on top. So we got a 21 millimeter in our electric ratchet. We're just going to use that to suck it down. And see as you tighten that up, how it just brings it nice and level. Go ahead and do the same with this one. Okay, and we want to leave these kind of loose because we're going to adjust these cams so that these markings that we made are back in the front, just like what we took them off as. In order to adjust these markings like there, you just get you an adjustable wrench, crescent wrench or whatever, put it on the big nut there and just rotate that thing until you get it in the position that you want it to be. And then you set this nice and tight, these two nuts. Once you've got these rotated where you want them to be, then you tighten these upper nuts, these 21 millimeter nuts, to 120 foot-pounds, 120. Now that we've got our cams set where we want to tighten these nuts on top to set it in place, keep it where it should be, and these get tightened to 120 foot-pounds. That one. Done. Torqued, and the pinch bolt is torqued. Pinch bolt was 90 foot-pounds. These two nuts back here that hold down the cams, those are 120 foot-pounds. And take your little dust shield and bring it back to the front where it went. And that, my friends, is a job done. So like I said, it's not too hard. The ball joint may fight you coming out of the knuckle. If it does, just use some pickle forks or use whatever tools you need to get that thing popped out of there. But as you can see, if you don't have too much corrosion, this thing's just pops right out, pops right back in, and you're good to go. Go get your alignment and it'll be much tighter and feel much more safe on the road. Appreciate you guys tuning in today. Thank you so much. If this helps you out, do me a favor too and hit that like and subscribe button for me. And you know, you can do this. You don't have to have a lift. You can do this on jack stands in your own garage, in your own driveway. Not too hard. Thank you guys for your time. Y'all have a wonderful day. God bless.